She was busy getting ready for her first date. Dinner at an upscale restaurant with live music and dancing. She got her hair done, made sure her makeup was perfect, put on that little black dress, and was ready for her date's arrival. But he didn't arrive on time. After waiting an hour, she decided she'd been stood up. So, took off the little black dress, put on her sweats and slippers, popped some microwave popcorn, and sat down to watch TV. About an hour later, the doorbell rang. It was her date. He looked at her with a surprised expression and said, "What? I gave you an extra 2 hours and you're still not ready?" Jury selection starts tomorrow. Jesus told the parable about 10 young women who were invited to a wedding party. Those were very festive occasions then as they are now. And they were probably very excited about being chosen to participate. They knew that one of their responsibilities was to greet the groom and light his path to the banquet hall with their lamps held up. So it was very important for them to take what they needed to fulfill their responsibility. However, 5 of them, Jesus said, were foolish. And 5 were wise. And the wise ones brought extra oil, just in case the bridegroom was delayed. The foolish ones, they brought their lamps and probably did have oil in them when they first got there, but they didn't bring a reserve supply. So, as fate would have it, grooms delayed. They fell asleep. Then comes the cry, "Here he comes! Get ready!" And the 5 foolish bridesmaids realized their lamps had gone out. So they went to their comrades and they said, "Give us some of your oil." And they said, "No." The wise one said, "No. Because if we do, we're probably not going to have enough for ourselves." Which is worse, having 5 lamps that are lit all the time or 10 that are out? So go back into town, find somebody who sells oil, and buy some. So the neglectful ones head out to buy some oil, but while they were away, here comes the bridegroom. You knew it was going to happen like that. And the 5 young women, the bridesmaids who were ready, went with him into the banquet hall. And then Jesus used those ominous words. Did you catch that? Then the doors were shut. The other 5 come back. Now they've got oil in their lamp. They're knocking on the door, saying, "Let us in. Open the door for us." And then, in even more ominous words, the groom says, "I don't know you." And Jesus said, "Therefore, be prepared. Keep alert. Because you don't know the day or the hour." The question for us today is, are you ready? Are you prepared? Do you have oil for your lamp? I mean, who knows what tomorrow will bring for any of us? Who knows what kind of a severe test we might confront? On the other hand, who knows what door of opportunity is going to be opened to us? None of us really knows what tomorrow will bring. I said, it's no wonder that the Boy Scouts have the motto, be prepared. And we can all think of situations in which preparation was the critical difference in success or failure, even life or death. One of the most famous tragedies in history occurred on April the 10th, 1912. A few days earlier, the great ocean liner, the Titanic, had set sail from Southampton, England, on its maiden voyage to New York City. Everyone thought the Titanic was a floating fortress. Even the ship's captain believed this ship was unsinkable, so he wasn't worried a single bit when the Titanic received 6 warnings that there was ice in the sea ahead of it. The ship was cruising near its maximum speed when the navigation officer sighted an iceberg right in the path of the big ship. So he contacted the first officer, who maneuvered desperately to avoid the collision that was threatened. And unable to turn quickly enough, the ship hit the iceberg, buckling the ship's starboard side. It would be the right side of the ship. And opening up 5 of her 16 compartments to the sea. Now, the Titanic had been designed to stay afloat when 4 of her forward compartments flooded. But there were 5. And the crew soon realized the ship was going to sink. The first officer immediately contacted the captain, who remarkably continued to dine with distinguished passengers and finish a second cigar. In just over 2 hours, the unsinkable Titanic was gone, with a loss of 1,490 lives. Now, the captain had planned that the Titanic's first voyage was going to be his last. Yeah, it was. Yeah. He was ready to retire, but he never got the chance. It turned out it was his last voyage. It's a classic, tragic case of not being prepared. The Titanic it gets worse. The Titanic had been outfitted with 20 lifeboats, which was only enough to hold half the passengers. Even worse, many of the lifeboats were mismanaged in the crisis. In some lifeboats that could hold up to 40 people, some contained only 12 folk when they rowed away from the sinking ship. Massive failure. Massive failure of preparation. And life's like that. Nobody knows what the future may bring. Numerous tragedies have occurred throughout human history because people were not prepared. Jesus was giving us really sage advice when he said, therefore keep alert, because you do not know the day or the hour. We may think we've got everything under control. It's all dialed in, wired down. But life can throw us some pretty nasty curves. Be prepared. I am basically an optimist. I tell folk I'm a professionally trained cynic, and yes, that is part of me. But I'm basically an optimist. But I'm also a realist. Nobody knows what the future may hold in terms of the health of our society. We may be on the cusp, on the verge of greatness as a people. Or we may be on the verge of something else entirely. Experts tell us we've moved to the point in science and technology with regard to such things as robotics and artificial intelligence that we could already replace 50% of the jobs in our land if we chose to. Driverless cars, pilotless drones. I'm not trying to be a buzzkill here, but that's the situation. It's an old joke that the factory of the future is going to contain only a dog, a man, and a computer. The man's job is going to be to feed the dog. The dog's job is going to be to keep the man away from the computer. Are you preparing for such a world? The future is on the side of people who study hard and keep their eyes open. Therefore, keep alert, says the Master. That's never been more true than it is today. The history is on the side of the prepared. By 1940, Europe, and indeed the entire world, had been thrown into a panic. The war to end all wars hadn't ended all wars, and Germany, under the leadership of Adolf Hitler, had just defeated France and Holland, and any nation that had been tried to stand in the way of the German army had been crushed. Neville Chamberlain, the Prime Minister of England, had been snookered by Hitler and was thoroughly discredited, and so he's out. So on May 10th, 1940, King George VI of England invites a guy by the name of Winston Churchill, the First Lord of the Admiralty. That's what they called their Chief of Naval Operations in the Joint Chiefs of Staff over in England, to the palace. And when Churchill arrived at the palace, the king wasted no time, instructed Churchill to form a new government. Now, Churchill was not the most popular and most obvious choice for this position. He was regarded by many politicians as unreliable and impetuous and opinionated, for, among other things, his unrelenting opposition to the appeasement of Nazi Germany. Churchill swiftly went to work after receiving this commission. He immediately arranged a meeting with advisors, government officials, military officers, with the goal of forming a coalition government. Now, this would have been a daunting task for anyone at that time and in that situation. But afterwards, Churchill wrote, "As I went to bed about 3 a.m., I was conscious of a profound sense of relief. At last, I had the authority to give directions over the whole scene. I felt as if I was walking with destiny, and that all my past life had been but a preparation for this hour and for this trial. My warnings over the last 6 years had been so numerous, so detailed, and were now so terribly vindicated that no one could contradict me. I could not be reproached either for making the war or with want of preparation for it. I thought I knew a great deal about it all, and I was sure I should not fail." Churchill was prepared when his time came. Reverend Robert Schuller of Crystal Cathedral fame, which once was a literally glittering megachurch, told of traveling with an associate by the name of Mike Nason, who'd been on his staff for nearly 40 years. On the plane, they were looking at their itinerary, about 3 pages detailing several events in upcoming cities. And when Schuller had finished reviewing a page of the itinerary that summarized that day's events, he took the sheet of paper, he crumpled it up as if to throw it away. And Mike said, "That's tomorrow's page. Don't throw away tomorrow." Schuller said, "Whoa," and light went on. I discovered a universal principle: don't throw away tomorrow. It's so easy to do. Crumple the paper, throw it away, move on to the next subject. We throw away tomorrow when ideas come and we're not ready for them. So we move on. I'll pass on this one, we say, not really knowing what doors to opportunity we're closing. We don't even give the idea serious attention. We throw away tomorrow when challenges come or when problems hit us. We throw away tomorrow when we get our priorities all mixed up and lose our vision. When you get overwhelmed, don't throw away tomorrow. Now, I certainly do not endorse the family infighting and the financial mismanagement that led to the church's downfall. Interestingly enough, now this is a cathedral that's part of the Roman Catholic Church. But Robert Schuller was right. He was certainly right on that admonition. Don't throw away tomorrow. Don't throw away tomorrow by preparing for each tomorrow every today. And of course, the most important preparation we can make concerns our relationship to God through Jesus Christ. You see, our scripture passage this morning is about being prepared for Christ's return. The scriptures promise that Jesus will physically return to earth at the end of time. Now, the first few generations of Christians believed that was going to happen during their lifetimes, and unless we missed it, we're all waiting for that, aren't we? But tomorrow could be the day. It could be the day for everyone on earth. It could be the day for each one of you individually. Are you prepared today for that tomorrow? But that's true of all of our tomorrows. We ought to be spiritually prepared for going off to college. We ought to be spiritually prepared for taking a new job. We ought to be spiritually prepared for marrying a spouse. We ought to be spiritually prepared for having an operation, and we can go on and on, can't we? Our spiritual preparation will determine how we handle the ups and the downs of life. The successes and the failures. The heartaches and the celebrations. That is why regular weekly worship is necessary. If worship is when I feel like it, or well, if they sing the songs I like, or if I don't have anything else to do, thing for you. You're throwing away your tomorrows with the Lord. That's why daily reading of the Holy Scriptures and time spent in prayer is so important. If the only scripture you read is that that's printed in the bulletin or projected on the screen on a Sunday morning, and prayer is only a hit or miss or thing for you, or maybe an occasional table grace that you remember from your childhood, you are throwing away your tomorrows with the Lord. And that's why sacrificial giving back to God through your church is so important. If you give reluctantly, or if you give begrudgingly, if you're more intentional about the percentage you tip your server in a restaurant than you are about the portion of your income you give back to God, now, if you use your giving as a weapon, I'm sure none of you do this, but over the 30 plus years I've seen it in other churches where people weaponize their giving. Well, I don't like this, so I'm going to designate my giving for that, or I don't like that, so I'm just not going to give. There was a little church in Fountaintown, Indiana. Fountaintown no longer exists, but there's a Fountaintown United Methodist Church where two roads come together in Shelby County, Indiana. Somehow, that church had over $50,000 back in the early 1990s that was designated into a landscaping fund and couldn't be used for anything else. Folks, they didn't even have enough shrubbery to mess with landscaping, but somehow they allowed, and that church was dying on the vine because of what had happened. If that's the way any of us approach our giving, we are throwing away our tomorrows with the Lord. I've gotten a kick over the 30 plus years in ministry of people who said, I don't like talking about money. I don't like you talking about money in church. You ought to talk about more spiritual things. It's all spiritual. That's what it is, really. If it's a matter of a calculator for you, throw away the calculator and check your soul. When I studied Greek mythology in high school, I don't know if they still do that or not, I learned about a guy named Atlas. Because Atlas had somehow offended Zeus, the king of the Greek gods, Atlas was condemned to hold all of the weight of the earth on his shoulders. Rabbi Harold Kushner wrote, Atlas was condemned to carry the weight of the entire world on his shoulders. That was as harsh a punishment as the ancient Greek mind could conjure up. Today, it seems we have volunteered to play the role of Atlas. We have not offended God, we have dismissed Him. Told Him we're grown up enough not to need His help anymore, and offered to carry the weight of the world upon our shoulders. The question is, when it gets too heavy for us, when there are questions too hard for human knowledge to answer and problems that take more time to solve than any of us have, will we be too proud to admit we made a mistake in wanting to carry the world alone? Rabbi Kushner was right. We need God to help us carry the burdens of every day. As Max Lucado once wrote, when you are confused about the future, go to your Jehovah Ra, your caring shepherd. When you're anxious about provision, talk to Jehovah Jireh, the Lord who provides. Are your challenges too great? Seek the help of Jehovah Shalom. The Lord is peace. Is your body sick? Are your emotions weak? Jehovah Rophe, the Lord heals you. We'll see you now. Do you feel like a soldier cut off and stranded behind enemy lines? Take refuge in Jehovah Nisi, the Lord my banner. The best preparation of all of life is to be spiritually prepared each and every today for every tomorrow. Therefore, keep alert, because you do not know the day or the hour. Years ago, a young man by the name of Bobby Fischer brought a lot of pride to our country when he defeated a chess champion from the Soviet Union named Boris Spassky in a world championship chess match. Fischer prepared for this contest by swimming laps underwater every day, because he knew that as the chess matches wore on into the late hours, the player with the most oxygen going to his brain was going to have a mental advantage. So he built up his chess game by building up his lungs and his capacity to take in and retain air. When he did defeat Spassky, a lot of people were surprised by his astonishing wit and mental staying power, especially late in the matches when both players should have been weary, should have been burned out. But Bobby Fischer was prepared for the test. The veterans we honored yesterday and today were prepared for the test. Now, I never served in the military, but I think I'm on pretty firm ground that not everybody that served appreciated all the time spent in drilling and preparing. But when it was needed, they were able to pass the test. As I told the children, think of great musicians, think of athletes. You prepare, practice, practice, practice. So when the time comes, they're ready to pass the test. Are you training spiritually? Are you drawing closer to God every day, or are you carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders? I got it, God. Don't throw away your todays. Don't throw away your tomorrows. And don't throw away your forever. Let's pray. Oh God, give us the humility to take the weight of the world off of our shoulders and let it go. Help us to prepare every today so that we can face whatever we need to face every tomorrow. Help us, especially, to prepare every today spiritually, to not throw away what will happen with you tomorrow. In Jesus' name, amen. I invite you to stand and let's sing together.